Okay then. So let's go ahead and get started then with our workshop. Um, I just want to encourage everyone to ask questions as we go through. That's kind of what adds to the information and the sharing and everything is if people ask questions, it adds a lot to the content of the workshop. And that's what it's meant for, is to get questions and answer people's questions. So speak up. The other thing I want to say is I'm certainly not a bonsai professional, and the things that I present here are what I've learned from the people I've studied with. And I know there's a lot of other information, conflicting information out there. So um, just know that I don't consider myself an expert. And I know that there's people in the audience that know a whole lot more than me, like Vince and Kathy and those guys. I rely on you guys to speak up and add to the program. So our topic today is going to be deciduous and broadleaf evergreen pruning. And I put pruning, but when I thought about that, I realized that's really not true. What we're going to be doing today, we're going to be pinching. There's a lot of difference between pinching and pruning. So pinching is when you are taking this year's growth, the new growth, and cutting it back so that you stop the elongation of the new growth. So just keep that in mind. What we're doing now is pinching. We're not pruning. We're going to be working with deciduous and broadleaf evergreens. Let's see. I have my my teleprompter here. So you see me looking in strange directions because I'm reading my notes. So yeah, we're going to be doing pruning, fertilizing, and watering. The first thing that I wanted to explain, and this is more for beginners, is the difference between deciduous and broadleaf evergreens. And deciduous are species that totally lose all of their leaves every year. They just drop them in the fall and then regrow everything new the next year. Broadleaf evergreens are trees that do not lose their leaves every year. Their leaves remain on for more than one growing season. So some examples of like deciduous would be maples, elms, hornbeams, those types of trees. Broadleaf evergreens would be, I actually have some things here to show you. So I'm going to highlight my phone. Whoops. Nice phone. Whoops. Come back here. Nice phone. Replace spotlight. So we're going to go to my phone and I'm just going to, we have, oops. Oops. Okay. So we have deciduous trees, maples, we have maples, we have elms, hornbeams. Those are the examples I have in here of the deciduous trees. And then for the broadleaf evergreens, we have boxwoods, we have a silverberry, and we have an oak, a live oak. And you can see on here, this is a really good, you can see it really good. You can see the old leaves that are still hanging on there. These old, whoops, where'd it go? Where did that go? Right here, okay. These guys, the old leaves from last year, they're still there. They'll hang on for a little while longer. And then all the new growth is here as well. So you have like 2 years worth of foliage. So that would be deciduous and broadleaf evergreens. Oops. I'll get better at this as I go along.
You're doing fine.
Okay. So that's examples of deciduous and broadleaf evergreens. The other category that we have when we're working with deciduous and broadleaf evergreens is we have two different categories. We have um, one group that are alternate or uh, opposite leaf species, which are maples, mostly maples, I think. Most of the things that I have that are opposite leaves are maples. And an opposite leaf, you can see at each node, there are two leaf buds. So this is this year's growth coming out. So you have two leaf buds. So that's opposite. Alternate leaf would be like a hornbeam, where at the node you only have one leaf bud, and they alternate going up the stem. So you have alternating leaf buds, and that has a little bit to do with how you would prune something. You prune them a little bit differently. So just keep that in mind as we continue through this.
Hey, Renee, your phone is still above you. It's like you have a split screen. Can you do something with your
You
phone?
want me to get rid of that?
Yeah, can I just stop your, oh, there
Like
you go. Okay, that's better.
Is that good? Okay.
I guess I could have done that. All right.
So anyway, alternating opposite leaf species. At this time of year, what are these trees doing? These trees are growing like gangbusters. I mean, they've been sitting around all winter. They have all this stored energy that they are pushing with new growth. So all of that new growth is just, it's like they're on steroids right now and going crazy. And one of our goals with developing deciduous trees is we want to develop short internodes, small leaves, and ramification. And if you just let these trees grow like this, you're going to get really long internodes. You're going to get really large leaves. So in order to arrest that growth and focus on the ramification and small leaves and short internodes, we're going to pinch that new growth to stop that push of really strong outward growth, so that all of the energy will not be going into producing the elongating growth. We're going to cut it back so that a lot of that energy is going to be focused back into the tree, into the buds that are back in behind the tips of the tree, and give the inside buds a little more strength, so that once we get to May and we start actually pruning and defoliating, those buds that are back inside will be stronger, and they will then push out and we'll get more ramification, shorter internodes, smaller leaves. Let's see, where are we here? So the questions, some of the questions you want to ask yourself before you start working on a tree. It's really important that the tree's healthy, because everything that we do to develop a bonsai is going to weaken the tree. When we pinch the tree, we weaken the tree. When we prune the tree, we weaken the tree. When we repot the tree, we weaken the tree. So whatever we're going to do, make sure your tree's healthy before you start. Don't want to end up killing it by trying to do too much to it too soon. One of the other questions you want to ask yourself before you start is this tree in development or refinement? When you get, most of the beginners, when you go to a bonsai, go to a nursery or get a new tree, it's kind of small. It's something that's probably in development. So you're kind of going to treat that tree a little bit different than you do something in refinement. In development, you're actually working on the basic structure of the tree. You're working on developing the trunk. You're working on developing the primary branches. So you might be fertilizing it a little bit more. You might not be pinching it as much because you want it to grow. You want it to develop, more bulk and stuff. And then, you know, once
我
that
要誒，
initial
我點知自己肚餓啦？你問翻自己，你會唔會成日都好口渴，要成日都要去洗手間，夜晚去好多次廁所？即係從個病徵出發，你已經知道你自己控制唔
I'm
到。
not sure what's
好
going
啦，
on here,
如
but
果你冇嘅，但係問題我又好想知道一啲比較客觀啲嘅標準。咁我哋自不然可能自己睇。
We may have to end some person,
I
I
did.
don't know who.
I don't know who that was, but I muted them.
an interloper.
An
Okay,
interloper.
thank you. Strange.
Anyway, where was I?
Okay.
So we were talking about trees that are in development as opposed to trees that are in refinement. So development, you're working on basic structure, you're working on developing the trunk, you're working on developing the primary branches. Trees that are in refinement, you already have that basic structure. So you're focusing more on developing the ramification and short internodes and small leaves. So what we do, you know, the pinching might have something to do with the stage of development of the tree. I have an example here. I was looking through my garden. I don't really have anything that is strictly in early stages of refinement. I mean, in the early stages of development. I also don't have anything that is in later stages of refinement. Most of my trees are kind of somewhere in between. So most things, some of the tree is developed, some of it is, I'm working on thickening a branch, adding a branch or something like that. So I have an example here of a Japanese maple. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my, cell phone. And we're going to, this is a Japanese maple. And as you can see, you know, a lot of it is been pinched back, the top and kind of the right side of the tree's been pinched back, but this one branch going off to the left here is way long and has not been pinched. The reason for that is that I'm trying to thicken this branch. In bonsai design, the lower branches should be thicker, and as you go up the tree, the branches should get thinner and thinner as you go up. This one branch on the bottom is still pretty thin. So I want to thicken this. So, because this is going to be my primary branch, and I want this to be the thickest branch on the tree. So in order to get this branch to thicken, I have to let it grow. It'll never get thick if I don't let it grow. So I have to sacrifice ramification and all of the good things that come along with pinching. I have to sacrifice that right now to get that branch to thicken. So that's one example of, you know, a tree that is kind of halfway between developed and refined. And that's kind of where most of my trees are. The other, I think Carmen now, I'm going to ask Carmen, she has some interesting progressions on some of her, or at least one of her maples, I know. So I was going to ask her to take over and share her progressions.
Okay.
Maple. So I'm gonna spotlight you, Carmen.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, there I am. So I love doing progressions. I've had bonsai since 1980, somewhere in there. And I love to take pictures. So here we go. I get to share them. Okay. Oops, that's not the first one. This was the first one. All right. So this is a maple, and I would say this is in development. This was I bought this in 1984, and it was to put in a maple grove that trees kept dying. And so I go, okay, keep buying more trees. And so I keep adding maples to it. And this was from a nursery in Folsom, and it was a 1-gallon pot. So this picture was from approximately 1995. And I had pulled it out because it didn't match the other maples, which I had not known at that time, that unless they're from cuttings, they're not going to genetically match. So this one stuck out like a sore thumb. So I pulled it out in 1995. I've got to move everybody. There we go. Okay. Then this is it in 1999. That's approximate. I took pictures of I moved them into the computer for the pictures. So this is 1995 and I've wired it and it's a mess. And of course I was pinching back, but it was pretty sad. But I had it in a bonsai pot and I liked it. So this is it with this fall color is starting. This was 2004. Hold on a second. I'm going to move you. My bar is in the way. There we go. Oops. Nope. Still in the way. Down. Okay. This was 2004 and fall color, and the base is starting to get a little bit bigger, but it's still a mess. This is 2007. So this is the other thing I was doing. I'm always the cautionary tale here. This branch over on the right, very flat. The maples aren't supposed to look like that. I was basically training it to be a pine tree because I didn't know any better. But it was still growing and it was still happy. I also had two huge sacrifice branches like Renee's, and there was one here and there was one here. And they are completely gone. You cannot see anything from those sacrifice branches. And it didn't take all that long for them to disappear. Okay, so 2007. So then I wired it. Looks a little bit better. The side's still pretty flat, but hey, it looks a little bit better. It's getting there. Oh, I didn't tell you, when I first bought the tree, it was 15 inches tall. Okay, next one. This is 2007. No, yeah, 2007. I just had fall color and I was so excited. And you see how huge the leaves are? This variety has enormous leaves, and this is something I have to deal with. And so the internodes are long, the leaves are huge. And this is getting better. Now we're up to 2008. But you can see up on the top, there's no ramification. I was terrified to defoliate because I defoliated and then nothing happened. Or I pinched back and nothing happened. So I didn't know what to do with this tree. So I just kind of kept it alive, kept it growing, pinched it, cut it back a little bit, and just kept on going. So 2007, but the flowers on this thing, this is 2009. So you have to sacrifice. I can't pinch and have flowers. So some years I let it have flowers because they're so beautiful, but I should be pinching. But I like them so much that every once in a while I let them go. This year I'm only going to have about 2 that I'm going to leave just to see them. Okay, this is today, yesterday I took this picture. So it's now 22 inches tall. And this has had the Peter T treatment. So you can see it's kind of looks like a pine because you keep the top cut back much farther than the sides. So over time, the crown is going to get bigger, but right now it looks like this. And I'm much happier with it. This branch on the right is getting bigger. The other thing I wanted to mention about this tree, so all maples are different. And you can see the buds are coming out and they had like these little pointy thing. It almost looks like a beach, the way that it's pointing up. So what happens when I go to pinch back the new growth, there's this sheath here and the growth is coming out underneath it. So there's nothing to pinch. But you pull these back and here you go. The bud is encased in that. So you have to pull those 2 little sheath leaflet, whatever they are, prime leaves back. And now you can see what I have to cut back, where I have to pinch back to. So I had a couple other varieties that were like that too. Sometimes you can see them and you can get right into it. This, you literally have to tease it apart with your fingers very gently to get to where you are going to pinch that. And then there it is pinched. So each maple is different. So you have to be aware of what you have got. And so it's kind of tedious and you have to be careful you don't do it too soon. This one over here just started, so no, that's not ready. The one behind it is almost ready. And if you wait until you can see the leaf, you've already got 3 sets of leaves because that's the way it grows. Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Please ask questions.
So what you pinched out was the center of that, of the 3 sets, you pinched out the center.
If I do it correctly and I do it early enough, there will only be 2 sets. So that's my goal. But really quickly, you end up having 3 sets. But yeah, I cut back to the 2 main leaves, to the first set of leaves. It's just difficult to get to them sometimes. And this thing has really long internodes, so it's critical that I get in there pretty quickly. Okay, Renee, back to you.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so pinching, I'm just going to take my little examples here of the maple and how we pinch the maples. These are the opposite leaves, opposite leaf varieties. And I don't know, can you see this? Okay. We have, this is still a little bit, it should have been pinched a little bit earlier, but it kind of shows you want to cut back. You have 2 sets of leaves here. This first set of leaves, we want to come in and take out the tip of the growing branch there, and just leave these 2 sets of leaves. So we would go through the whole tree and do this unless there's something that you want to elongate, like on the tree that I showed you where I'm growing a branch, I want it to get thicker. But you would go through and do the whole tree like this, and they don't all come out at the same time. You know, they start coming out and it may take like 2 to 3 weeks for the whole tree to push those new sets of leaf buds. Oops, my example here is wilting. So anyway, that's the opposite leaf. That's the Japanese maples. Japanese maples, it's important to get in there and clip off this the tip of this shoot once you have the 2 leaves, 2 opposite leaves, and then the tip beyond that, you don't want it to extend out any further. So really important on Japanese maples early to get it in there and get that off, because they are notorious for having really long internodes. If you don't do that, it's hard to develop good short internodes on Japanese maples. Trident maples, I'm going to let Vince had a trident maple that he was going to share with us. Pruning that. Trident maples are a little more forgiving. They don't seem to develop the first set of leaves on a trident maple. Normally get a pretty short internode on that first set of leaves. So I'm going to highlight Vince. Where's Kathy? Where's Kathy? Whoops. Okay, so Vince has a nice trident maple here that he's going to show us where to do the pinching on this guy. Oh, what a pretty tree, Vince.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Can you see this branch right here?
Right.
I've actually waited too long on this.
Just a minute. Do you see that screen? Just hang on to this because it's right there. Or unmute myself there. On the blue bar. Yeah. There. Better?
That's good.
Yes, that's good.
But I don't know if you can tell, the first set of these is right down here at the base here. Now
Yeah.
that doesn't grow too long, so you have the second set of leaves and the third set. So in order to keep the internodes short, you'd have to cut it way back here and actually cut this much of it off. Here's another one here.
Just a minute. It's kind of dark. Well,
It's kind
okay.
of dark.
Because you.
But like Carmen said,
There.
here's a small, it's
That's
just
good.
starting to come up. There's a set of these right down below it. So you have to cut that off here.
Okay.
So that's what you do with the trident maples. Just try to get to see how much, how, over here, Ken. See how long the inner nodes are here?
Yeah.
You want to not have that on your tree. So you go back to the first set of leaves and cut it off and you get rid of this.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, thank you, Vince.
Could we see a shot of the tree from a distance? I want to see it.
Just a minute. Here, put it back. Just a sec. There.
That
Okay.
is so beautiful.
Beautiful, Vince.
Ugh.
That is a nice tree. Wow.
Mhm.
None of my tridents are quite that far out. They're just kind of just getting started.
Turn it some more.
So I
The
don't.
bark is gorgeous.
Yeah.
But you see where the original tree was cut off is right here.
Ah, is it all healed?
No.
Not quite.
Not quite.
Wow.
Okay. Thank you, Vince.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
You were talking about pruning and developing. Vince just did an olive tree. And I'm going to see if I can screen share that. He just
Okay.
did it for the past 3 days.
Okay.
So I'll have to, when I get it set up, I'll holler.
Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Okay. So that was the Japanese maple and the trident maple. And now we're going to take a look at the alternating leaf species. And these are a little bit different because if you come back and say we come back here and prune it back to the first leaf bud, we're only going to get one. We're not going to get any ramification because there's only one leaf bud coming off here. So we have to go up to at least two, but normally with alternating leaf species, you let them elongate a little bit farther so you can get more strength in these buds back here. Because if I come back and cut here and just leave two, it may be that just this one grows. So if we let's say it's
Yeah,
only
could you
one.
show us on the top? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. If I come in at this time and it's only grown this much and I come back and cut here, I may only get this one to grow because it's not strong enough yet. You have to let this branch get a little bit stronger and put a little more energy into developing the axillary buds back at these nodes. So you let it grow. You let it grow probably out to 5, 8 inner nodes, or yeah, 5 to 8 inner nodes before you cut it back. And then when you cut it back, you come back, when it's about, let's just say it's this long. Now I can come back and cut it here. And the buds that are here, hopefully are stronger and will give 2 sets of branches coming off. Alternating leaf species are a little more difficult because a lot of times you'll cut it here like this, you'll let it grow, you think these are nice and strong, you cut it here, but you only get one to elongate. So it's kind of, it isn't 100% sure that you're going to get 2 of them to grow, but it's a better chance if you let that branch elongate a bit, the new growth elongate a bit before you come back in and cut it off. Hopefully then these two buds will be stronger and both of them will send out a new shoot, a new bud, and you'll get two, you'll be developing ramification. If you only get one, if this one doesn't grow and only that one grows, then you have, you've kind of lost the battle there. You haven't developed ramification at all. And I've seen this on a lot of my trees, on a lot of my alternating species trees. You'll go in and cut, leaving a couple of buds, but only one grows. So it's like, okay, it's a little bit more difficult.
So
That's-
Renee, when you did the cutting on that one, you're cutting the hardwood, not you're not at that leaf tip. Does that have several leaves in it, or is it just one leaf at the tip there?
Oh, I
I'm
see.
You know
confused.
what
Yeah.
I'm trying to compare it to how you had the Japanese maple.
The other, pick up your piece you just cut off.
Yeah.
I just confused you guys, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Because you were clipping before little green stuff that you could pinch, not things that you needed a scissor for. So
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I led you astray. I totally led you astray. Okay. So here we have the new growth for this year. Rewind. We have the new growth for this year. So this is what we're going to let elongate before we cut it back, because this is what we want to get the ramification on. We want the ramification on the new growth, not on the, well, we want it on the old growth too, but for this particular procedure, for the pinching procedure, we want to do it on the new growth. So new growth, we're going to go back and let it extend out. So we've extended out 1, 2, 3, 4, about 8 or 10 leaves. So then we're going to go back in and cut it back. So then we're going to cut this back to 2. Sorry about that.
Oh, good.
Does that make more sense?
Yes.
Thank you, guys. See, you got to keep me on the.
okay, I just thought you were teaching me a different thing, so
Yeah.
I was confused.
We
No,
can
you
replay this in May.
Yeah. This would be, what I just showed you was a May thing. This is a spring thing. This is a March thing. Whoops, where did they go? So anyway, on the new growth, let's see. I have my hornbeam. I'm going to go ahead and highlight my phone again. And here to our this is a Korean hornbeam, just starting to leaf out, and it's getting to the point now where I can probably start thinking about, this is the new foliage for this year. Where are we? This little tip here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 5 leaves that have extended out. I'll probably let that extend out a little bit further. The one thing nice about Korean hornbeams is they really do not develop long internodes. They naturally have like small leaves and short internodes, so they're really quite a nice tree for bonsai. I would totally recommend this for people that are getting started. Korean hornbeams are just really nice to work with. So alternating species, I'll be cutting this back to 2 leaf buds. Let's see, we have a Seiju elm here. Seiju elm is another species that naturally has very short internodes. I mean, it's almost like they're too short, but they have very short internodes. You can see the new growth. It's very, very, very small. Probably not even ready to be pinched back. You could probably let this tree grow all the way till May and cut it back then, and you wouldn't really worry about sacrificing the length of internodes or the size of the leaf. Any questions, guys? Any questions about anything so far? Anything that's not making sense? Anything that I've led you astray on that I need to clarify?
What was the name of that species the little, I heard horn, but I didn't hear the first part.
The hornbeam, it's a
Hornbeam, okay,
Korean hornbeam.
thank you.
It's a very nice species to work with because it naturally has small leaves and short internodes. Japanese maples, on the other hand, they are notorious for having really long internodes, and it's kind of a battle to get them short. So I thought maybe it would be nice to have a conversation about some of the trees that are the deciduous and broadleaf evergreens that are more commonly used for bonsai. Japanese maples, being a very popular species, when you think of bonsai, you think of Japanese maples and you think of pines. So Japanese maples are kind of in a category by themselves as far as how to develop them because of the internode problems. However, there are many different varieties of Japanese maples. You have your regular garden variety. I'm going to go ahead and spotlight my phone here again. Regular garden variety, Japanese maple, that's this guy. I'm not exactly sure what the variety is, but it's, probably something that you would see in somebody's front yard. It's a nice species to work with, but once again, you do have the internodes to work with. There are many varieties that are actually dwarf varieties. This particular variety of Japanese maple is called a kiyohime. It is naturally dwarfed. It naturally develops short internodes. You can see the difference here. I've hardly pruned this at all this year, and it's just one dense little ball of leaves. And when they do extend out, they don't extend out very far. I have a couple of things right here that I need to prune back. But for the most part, it really doesn't extend out that much. So they're kind of nice to work with. Other varieties, this is called a katsura, is a variety that is nice for its, not only for its fall color, but for its spring color. When it leaves out now in the spring, you get this beautiful yellow leaf with a red border on it. It's pretty spectacular. Very, very nice. This is a little bit nicer variety as well. It's more of the dwarf variety. So just be aware that when you're shopping for Japanese maple material, you'll get you'll get a variety of you'll get varieties that have naturally long internodes, like the one that Carmen was showing you. Whatever variety that was, it has a very long internode, difficult to get them shortened. Some of the lace leaf varieties have very long internodes. Vince, I know you have some different varieties of maples that are like dwarf. Can you share some of those varieties that you have that are the dwarf varieties?
We have a Chiba, which is very similar to your Katsura.
Uh-huh.
And then we have, what's the other one?
Kashima,
Yeah, Kashima, which has,
Kiyohime.
and the Kiyohime. Those are only three Yatsubusa maples I have.
Could you explain what Yatsubusa means, Vince?
Small
Dense.
leaf, short internode,
Short
more
dense.
dwarf, dense type tree.
Okay. Yeah. So they come in all varieties. So choose your battle carefully.
I
Renee,
know, I'm on my phone.
Renee, just the other day, well, about a couple weeks ago, I guess, Patty Fletcher, myself, and Carol Greenfield went to High Hand Nursery, and they had quite a number of small. If I can share my screen for a second.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay,
please.
let me see if it will. This is one of the varieties they had was a Sharp's Pygmy Japanese maple. And so I was able to pick up one, and it has naturally close, tight internodes and small leaves. And Patty, I don't know if Patty's on the line. I don't know if Patty, are you able to grab a photo of the tree that you got? What's nice about it was that we were able to find some with low branches, and that would be good material for bonsai.
Oh, okay. Yeah, High Hand Nursery they specialize in maples, don't they, Kathleen? Yeah.
I suppose that the downside of some of these varieties is, you have the short internodes, but on the other hand, they tend to be a little bit more finicky and die back and burn. Yes,
That's true. Yes.
just be aware.
This is true. They do. They do tend to burn a little bit. They need 50% shade in the summertime for sure. But everything has its little issues. You have issues with everything. So anyway,
When you go look at these maples at the commercial nurseries, make sure that the most of them are grafted onto other species. So you might want to make sure the joint at the of the graft is nicely made. You might want to explain that a little bit more, Renee.
yeah, grafted varieties. I should go out and get the Sharp's Pygmy that I bought there. Give me a minute. I'll be
Sure.
right back. Run out to the garden. Be right back.
She should be playing some music now. Oh, thank you. Kathleen, are you muted?
This was under this was buried, the shoulder of the tree where there's a little bit of hint of nabari, but it didn't look like it had too bad of a, I can't enlarge it for you, I guess, but it didn't look like it had too bad of a graft.
And it hasn't started to bud out yet, Kathleen?
Yeah, it has now. I took those the day that I repotted.
Oh, okay.
I didn't want to wait till it was budding out to pot.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. Okay, I have a Sharp's Pygmy that I got at High Hand Nursery earlier this year that I used for one of my workshops. So I'm going to highlight my phone again. And Vince, our graft died.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Not make it. So I'm just going to break it off. It died. But anyway, this is a nice graft actually. It's a pretty nice graft on this tree. You can see the graft site right here. You want to make sure that when you buy something that's grafted, that it's a nice smooth transition from the stalk to the tree, so that it's because that's going to be there forever. Your tree will never ever recover from a bad graft site. Some of them are really bad. This one is okay. It's still got a little bit of a swelling there. You can kind of see right in here. you can see where they grafted the sharp pygmy onto the stalk. So not too bad as far as grafts go, but be really aware of that when you're shopping for material, that you get something that has, if it's a grafted variety, that it has a nice transition from the stalk to the tree. This one, it was kind of, it had a nice graft, but my plans for this tree are actually, I'm gonna, at some point, maybe in May or June, I'm going to go ahead and air layer it in here someplace, because there's nothing in here. So I'm gonna do an air layer. That'll probably be part of another workshop that we do later on. So any other comments about graft sites, Vince? Does that, have I covered that, or would you like
Yes.
to add anything?
No, that's fine. Just watch out for graft areas where if you're just looking at the top of the tree, you might not notice that, but sometimes those grafts are, are like you say, they don't ever go away. So you want to make sure you have a good graft area.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Vince. Okay, where are
Patty, did you have a image of the tree that you bought?
Yes. Oh, no.
Showing
Oh,
her,
Patty, sorry.
she's shaking her head no.
She's shaking her head no. Okay. Okay, let's see. Any other species that we want to talk about that make good bonsai? I like trident maples. I actually like trident maples now better than I like Japanese maples, but because they're a little bit easier to develop ramification and small leaves on.
I had a question about moon maples.
Oh, moon maples.
What do you do with moon maples?
You're asking me?
Why, anybody? I'm open, wide open. Vince.
Anybody.
I have a moon maple, but I haven't really been taking care of it. It was in the dark area. So I repotted it this year and moved it out to an area that has more sun, and hopefully it will develop a lot better.
What about you, Lucy? Do you pinch them back? You must have a moon maple.
See, yes, I do have a moon maple, and what I do with that one is I do pinch back if it's the elongated branches, but it pretty much stays pretty compact, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you cut it? So do you cut it back to 2 leaves, but you wait a while?
No, I don't really look at it like the Japanese maple. I don't look at it that way. So maybe I'm late, but it pretty much is developed so I could do that.
Okay, I got it. So it's like the stuff that's outside of the silhouette of the tree.
Right, if it's, yeah,
Okay.
like Renee was doing, I kind of keep it trimmed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure.
So Renee,
Jody, I have a question.
Oh.
I have two questions, actually. I took a maple forest apart to get thicker, let them grow, individually pot them. Do I just let them grow and don't pinch them back? Or should I be pinching them back?
Well, let's see. If they're pretty young, okay. The Peter T treatment, right?
That's hack it down.
Pretty much.
Treatment. Well, if the trunks and stuff are the size that you want, you can start, doing a little bit of refinement pruning. If the trunks need to grow, you need to get thicker. If you want thicker trunks, you just kind of got to let it grow until you have the primary branches and the trunk the size that you want it, and then you start pruning it, and then you would start pruning the top and developing the lower branches. So it kind of depends on what, the stage that they're at.
These are sticks, so they probably just need to grow.
Just need to grow, yeah.
And I would recommend that wherever your first branch is going to be, get that thing thickened up early,
Mhm.
because nothing looks worse than these little tiny twigs coming out of a big trunk. You want it to flow nicely. So use those sacrifice branches because they really help.
Let them run.
Let them run. What else, Dodie?
Oh, actually, the question is more for Vince. The forest that we just planted, should I be pinching that back or let it run?
I would just let it run for a while. Get it healthy.
Works for me, that's easy.
That's the answer you wanted to hear.
I have a question if anybody has I think it's called a tiger bark maple. It pretty much, it's like a clump and the barking has like little orange lines on it, but it pretty much stays small. I'm just amazed that nothing goes out and elongates on it. Does anybody have one of those? And do they always grow in a clump? Because maybe I made up the name.
I've never heard of those.
Tiger bark or snake bark? Snake bark maple or tiger
Would
bark?
it be a snake bark? Would they grow like in a clump? I just kind of made it into a bonsai a few years ago, so it might be a snake bark. I'll have to Google it.
Yeah, my snake bark is a single trunk and it has long internodes. I don't know.
Okay, we'll have to exchange pictures. It's
Okay.
Okay.
Renee, you were thinking about other trees. One of them that you didn't mention is a beech that's used a lot too. And you and Carmen had a beech, you each had a beech that I ended up purchasing at one point. And I like it quite well. You guys did the foundation work and made it look quite nice. Is there any, in your opinion, is that a good tree to work with in bonsai?
It makes a beautiful tree, but they take a little bit different, it's almost like they take a special treatment because of the way they grow. The reason that I sold that tree, and you have it, is because I didn't want to work with it anymore. I didn't know what to do with it. It wasn't developing the way I thought it should, and it was frustrating me, so that's why I sold it. And there it is.
There it is.
See, you're just doing so well with it, Kathleen. It's where it should be. I don't know. I know that you're supposed to like break the buds or do something early. You don't pinch them like you do, and you don't defoliate them like other trees, and they take a little special treatment.
They're almost like a single flush. You cannot work on them twice. You get one shot at it.
Yeah. And Kathleen looks like she's doing the right thing, so glad she has it instead of me.
Me too.
Renee, I have a flowering apricot. What can you tell me about that?
They're beautiful. Usually flowering species, you kind of let them flower before you do anything to them.
Uh-huh.
But, I would, apricot, I'm not sure. I don't really have one, so I can't really speak to that very well. Do you know anything about that, Vince? Do you have a flowering apricot, or?
That'd be the same as the ume.
Similar to the ume? Mm-hmm.
Very similar, yeah. So you treat it like you would, like you normally do your umes.
So would you let it grow out then in the spring after it flowers and then just prune it back in like May or something?
You can, or if you do it earlier, you can do it earlier, like you would cut back a normal apricot growing in the orchard, something like that. But then if you do it on the bonsai, you lose all your flowers.
Mm-hmm.
So what you want to do is you want to, if you're going to prune it after the flowers.
How about the roots, Vince? What do I want to do with the roots on that tree?
I would treat it like any deciduous tree, root, like you would a maple.
Okay,
I think you can cut back, cut back on roots pretty heavily and not have any problems. The one that you would have problems cutting back the roots is pomegranate. So
okay.
And I guess the soil mixture for that type of tree would be similar to a deciduous mix with the 50% akadama, 25% lava, 25% pumice. Is that what you would recommend, Vince, for that?
no, I'm lazy, so I keep mine. I have one mix and I use it all. It's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3.
Yay!
But
I have it in 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 right now. So
but it's probably a little bit more akadama probably wouldn't hurt.
nice.
Just have to water it a little bit more.
Right.
So
Very good. Thank you.
is it blooming? Is it blooming? Is your
No, it hasn't even popped even one bud yet. I'm a little overexcited. So,
oh, okay.
okay. I just got it last year. So
Is it
I'll keep,
is it new in your oh, you just got it last year, so it's kind of new for you, huh? Okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
if it's if it's a flowering apricot, it should be blooming now because they're about the same time as a peach, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, I had it in a lot of shade, so I've moved it to a more sunny area and hopefully it will bloom for me.
Good. Because on my ume, the actually Japanese apricot, I this bloomed and I have about 5 apricots already started.
Oh, wow.
Darn it, I'm a little behind. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, you're welcome. Um, okay, other species, like if the elms or make nice bonsai, they too have kind of naturally small leaves and shorter internodes. Silverberries, Elaeagnus, they're broadleaf evergreen. They make a really nice bonsai. Beautiful foliage, nice bark. Um, Anybody have anything else to say about good deciduous species to use as you know to guide our newer members and things that they might want to be looking for?
What about a Chinese quince?
Chinese quince is not very nice.
You have a beautiful one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chinese quince are very nice, very, very nice.
So do you pinch them?
I let them grow out a little. Yeah, I do pinch them, but I let them grow out farther because they're alternating species. So I let them grow, you know, elongate out a bit before I cut them back. They're a nice species.
And deciduous oaks, maybe Vince could, what do you do for deciduous oaks?
Oaks are nice.
But do same thing, pinch them, they're alternate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I normally just cut it back. I let it grow and I cut it back.
Okay.
The only ones I have are the Israeli oak and the Portuguese oak that are, well, I take that back. I have a whole bunch of those stupid.
Just
Yeah,
whenever the mood strikes and it's grown out, cut it back.
That's that's what I do.
Okay. So
Well,
Renee
I don't-
behind her is ready to cut back.
One behind me is in.
Oh, it's a,
I am trying to thicken branches on that guy. So I probably won't cut that back until May,
okay.
because most of the branches on that are pretty wimpy. It was a very tall tree and I cut it back, so it really didn't have any well-developed branches on the lower part of the tree. So I'm having to develop all of the branches. So let me highlight my phone again. And try not to make everybody sick. Now this tree was very tall. I cut it off. There weren't any like well-developed branches on the bottom of the tree. I'm probably, okay, I'm gonna let it grow, but I'm going to actually prune back the top. I'm still working on developing the lower branches on the tree, getting bigger branches on the lower part of the tree. While I'm trying to develop the lower branches to thicken them, I need to prune back a little bit harder on the top because I want the energy to go into the lower branches. So actually, I'm not going to let the whole thing blow out. I'm going to prune back the top and let the bottom branches grow because those are the ones I need to thicken first. And those are the ones that need to be the thickest on the tree, the heaviest. So very soon here, probably in the next week or so, I'm going to go through and just cut the top of it back so that so that the energy goes to the bottom branches rather. You know, trees are apically dominant. If you just let them grow, the energy is going to go up into the top of the tree. It's all going to go up here. That's what's going to get strong. Your lower branches will get weaker. So if you're trying to develop branches on the lower part of the tree, you have to cut back the top to let the bottom branches grow, because if you don't, all the energy will go into the top and the bottom branches will either stay weak and wimpy or they will die.
So don't leave your phone yet, Renee. So that same thing on your deciduous, on the maple that you have the sacrifice branch. What are you doing on the interior part, like towards the base where you're trying to get that thicker? What do you do with the little branchlets at the base?
At the base on this one?
Uh-huh.
Little branchlets at the base of the branch, you mean? Or
Uh-huh. You want those to, you don't want those to die.
No.
Is there anything you do to them? You just keep letting everything grow.
Well, if I want the branch to thicken, I have to just let it grow. And then once it gets grown out, cut it back. I have to keep the top of it, you know, relatively small to let that branch get bigger. So I'm going to, you know, I will defoliate, you know, the top of it. I'll probably defoliate the whole thing, but anyway, I cut back the top and let this branch grow and thicken. I can't really, at this point, I'm not doing anything to protect or encourage the interior, smaller, weaker things, because I'm just letting it grow. Once it gets thick and I start cutting it back, you know, then it'll start back budding, and then I will start to develop the finer ramification on that branch. Does that make sense?
Yes. It's just curious. I've seen people where they do sacrifice branches and they go out maybe 4 feet and you've got all this foliage at the end, and then the smaller branches, they're still kind of working on the interior branches while they're letting the rest of it blow out, but they're keeping it kind of clean where they think it should be.
Like you would go in here and
a bonsai thing, so I've been listening to it, but it's too much to take in. And
on your sacrifice branch, if the leaves are close to your main trunk and it's shading the interior of your tree and not letting that your small branches develop, what you might want to do is strip all the leaves from the sacrifice branch that is in the interior part of the branch and just let the tip of the sacrifice branch leaves grow.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
That way you have the sunlight and the air going to the center of the tree.
Okay, I see that. That makes sense.
Okay. That's kind of what I was getting at in a roundabout way. Thanks, Vince.
Yeah, I can see that. So it's got a lot of little stuff back in here that I need to preserve. It would be nice to preserve rather than just letting it, sacrificing it to the thickness of the branch. Okay. So I guess we're at a point. I was gonna like take a little break here and let people ask questions. If anybody has questions, people have things that they want to share. I know there's a lot of flowering stuff out there right now. I'd love to see people share some trees from their garden if you have that. How's your wisteria, Carmen?
I have about 4. I only have 4 racemes coming off of it, and that's it. But I'm just happy that it all is budding out because it was looking kind of unhappy. It was actually drooping. The branches were drooping somewhat, which is odd. But now it's all coming out and everything's wonderful. I'm thrilled about my pomegranate. No flowers yet, but it's starting to weep. So it looks like a weeping pomegranate. I don't know, but it's very cool. And my crab apples are blooming. So
Yeah. Well, my wisteria is blooming. I should have brought, maybe I can bring my wisteria in and share that.
does Vince have, I thought Vince was going to show olive, because the olive is a broadleaf evergreen.
Yeah. You have that olive, Kathy?
This, I'll see if I can share this.
And you can get the wisteria, Renee.
Okay, I unmuted and share screen.
I want Renee, oops. I think she has to undo herself.
Okay,
Whoops.
you see that?
You have to unpin yourself.
I have to unpin myself. I need to pin. Are you sharing, Kathy?
Yes, I am. I can see the screen on mine, but can you see the screen?
No, not yet.
Not yet. I
Renee's
got
gotta, there we go. But so
there.
you're there, but you're not sharing yet.
Oops, whoop, whoop, whoop. How do I get this guy smaller?
You want to, did you do share screen, Kathy?
Yeah, I hit share screen.
And then
Share screen. Okay.
pick the,
Share. Oop.
there it is.
Well,
Except that's not it.
There. You see anything?
Oh, there we
yeah,
go.
there it is.
There, okay.
Alrighty. This was what it was when it started. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, that's the project. That was 3 days ago on the 18th. He's been working on this for 3 days.
I'm slow.
And let's see. I'm trying to get the, okay. He got,
Can you hit the picture in the arrow in the bottom right corner? It might make it bigger.
yeah, but I lose the other pictures.
Really?
No? Okay, now I gotta.
There you go.
Okay, now this is, he trimmed it down some. I think this was yesterday or maybe yesterday morning. And that's the end of it today so far. So from bush to that. So I guess it's just kind of like pruning and starting development, hey?
Great.
Jeez. How big is that, Vince? How big is the pot?
The pot is 20.
18 by
No, it's 20,
20.
20 by 14
Okay.
by 6 inches deep. It's a pot.
So,
Oh, God,
in development.
I need it caught because it gets chilled. Thank you.
See, how do I get this?
You could press escape maybe.
Yeah, okay, let's try escape.
Did you want to stop sharing?
There.
Yeah, there.
And now stop share.
And stop share. If I can find it.
It should be on the top of the screen. I can stop it for you if you want.
Okay, would you?
Yeah, I will.
There.
Thank you.
Anyway, that's his project. How,
Holy cow.
yeah.
Vince always
It's
has.
just kind of developing, pruning, developing. Let her grow and then.
I always feel like kind of a wimp when I see what Vince is working on. I have all these little trees. Vince has big stuff.
But yours are all refined.
Right. Yours looks good.
Well, I have my my wisteria in here. It's kind of huge. Can you see that?
My,
Ooh,
oh,
love it, love it.
Yeah, great.
It smells so good.
so nice.
I need to prune it back though. It's getting a little bit out of control. I got to do some major pruning on it. I thought I might air layer some of the branches off this spring, or this summer. The shame
That's a nice one.
just to cut them off and throw them away just seems like such a waste.
So the history on that is you bought one for me and one for you, and that was in 1995.
Uh-huh.
They were 15 inches tall. I don't know how tall it is now. It's beautiful.
And about how they were about
A 1 inch in diameter.
About an inch in diameter. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And 15 inches tall.
Okay.
Yep.
Very good.
Can you point out where you would prune it? Just curious.
Well, I need to talk to Peter about that, because I'm not really sure. I was going to try and air layer some of the really long, the long branches off. It just this is kind of a unique variety of wisteria, because it flowers like crazy. I mean, it's always just covered with flowers, and most wisterias aren't like that. They'll have a few here and there. And I just, I don't want to just cut the branches off and throw them away. So I'm going to air layer them.
It's the variety is Issa Fuji, ISSAFUJI.
Really? Oh, you have that there, Carmen?
Yeah, I do. It's a Fuji.
As long as I buy things for both of us, I'll always have a history on it.
Yeah, yes.
For myself, forget it. Okay.
Great. I'm glad you brought that in, Renee. I'm amazed it's bloomed.
Are yours blooming, Lucy?
No, we've got wisteria in the yard and in pots, but they're all just big buds. And I was just taking photos of the buds.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's amazing. It's beautiful.
Wisterias are, they're so spectacular when they bloom. It's like you get that one little show a year and that's what you get, but it sure is worth it when it does it.
Yes, enjoy.
What about you folks in Santa Barbara area that have joined us today? Do you have some things that are blooming in your area right now? Carol? Ernie? You're on mute. You're on mute, Ernie. He's muted.
Oops. Do I need to ask him to unmute?
Yeah, get in here. Okay.
I don't have anything that's blooming right now at all in Santa Barbara.
Okay.
We really have a lack of rain so far this year, so not much going on. And I have mostly junipers, couple oaks, some small maples. I have some elms, but nothing flowering right now. So.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I do have a question though.
For joining us.
Woodbridge, California, is near south of Sacramento.
What was
Yeah.
that again?
Woodbridge,
It's by Lodi.
yes. I'm going to be there in a few weeks or later in April. And I was just wondering if anybody knows of any nurseries or anything I should check out in Woodbridge, bonsai wise.
There used to be Sage Inn, but it's no more. That's kind of outside of Woodbridge.
What about
Not that I
There's
know.
a good sausage place.
Rockford for sure. If you're interested in sausage.
Well, it's not bonsai, but yeah, food's always good.
The Tin Roof Barbecue in Lodi.
Okay.
The
Good sandwiches.
brisket sandwich there is excellent.
Okay. What was it, Ken? What?
The Tin Roof.
Oh, Tin Roof. Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. I was always surprised that there was nothing close to UOP that involved bonsai. That always kind of intrigued me.
Okay, well, I was gonna kind of just zip over fertilizing deciduous.
Can I-
Most of
I'll
our
make one more suggestion. If you're looking at flowering bonsai, you might try the, what's the plant I'm thinking of? The one I just gave you, the flowering, the yellow flower, what was it?
Forsythia.
yeah.
Forsythias. They make nice bonsai.
Actually, if you're talking about that, I did give Dodie a photograph of one that I have right now. Dodie, are you there able to share it?
Yeah, we can share it if you like.
But just to show them, I had one and I have a question. If Dodie's gonna get it up on the screen.
Okay.
Renee, how long does that wisteria bloom for you?
It's been blooming. It started last week. It'll probably go through next week and pretty much be done by then.
So only one flush.
Flush, that's it. Oh, it will get flowers, but it never looks like this again. It's once a year that it does this. And then it's before the leaves come out, so that's why it looks so spectacular, because there's no leaves on it.
It sure is pretty.
Thank you. It's one of those things I really look forward to. So was Dodie sharing something?
I don't know. Maybe she can't find it. It's no big deal if not. All I was going to ask is that, it's flowering now. And so I didn't repot it earlier because, you don't want to, I believe, I'm just kind of hoping to confirm this information with you and Lucy and Vince and whomever, that after it flowers would be when you would repot it, if you were going to repot it. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, this one is a root of a rock, and so it would be nice to be able to take some of that off and reveal some of, see what's happening with it. But I gave the photo to Dodie so she'd be able to share it. But I don't know where I put it. But anyway, you don't have to see it to answer the question.
What kind of a tree is it, Kathleen?
It's a forsythia.
I have it. Hang on.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. There. See, it's not much of a tree, but it's on the
A rock. Oh, cool.
it's on the rock. And this is just a geranium. Over here, this is just a geranium that was planted in there to kind of fill out the pot to make it look more interesting. Yeah. Okay, so you guys think after it blooms, go ahead and repot it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
I
it.
had a couple of flowering things that I let flower and I just repotted. So I think it's okay. I've done that before and have not had a problem. It's still early enough.
So as far as for bonsai, what do you do with this? After it blooms, because it is leggy, do you trim it?
Yeah, you would trim it. I have a flowering cherry. It's not this variety. It's a different variety, but it's a little bit finicky. So I had been treating it like all of my, other deciduous trees and, pinching it back and stuff like that, but it got really, really weak. So 2 years ago, I thought it was going to die. So I didn't pinch it in the spring. I fertilized it early and just let it grow, and then cut it back a little bit later. And it did much better this year. So, I don't know if that would apply to this particular variety, but you might just want to let it grow until like May, after it's gone through its primary push of growth and, kind of recharged its energy sources and stuff like that, and then prune it back then.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Some things, you don't really need, if they're early in development too, you really don't need to just be pinching them back really aggressively, early on, like in the spring. I don't know.
Renee,
Anybody? Yeah.
are you talking about your Oriental bush cherry?
No, I'm talking about, Carmen, what was that cherry we got?
See, I knew you were going to ask me that. Shoot. Hold on a second.
See, if we buy the same thing, then I know I have a record. If it was just mine, I would not have a record. So
Yeah, because mine did the same thing. Mine got back, I had made a cutting because they make cuttings beautifully. So it's a Okame, Okame, flowering cherry, and it's a dark pink, and they hang down to kind of singles that hang down. They're very pretty. 1994 Miniature Plant Kingdom. So, yeah.
1994. Wow.
Yeah.
Renee,
I don't cut mine back. I don't pinch mine at all. I just let it grow. And then like in May, do some pruning to it. That's it.
Renee, is your bush cherry blooming right now?
No, it's finished.
Okay.
Mine's blooming right now.
Pardon?
Mine's blooming right now.
So how do you treat that cherry?
Oh, see, isn't that pretty? Oh,
This is that cherry. Yeah.
yeah.
It was almost dead. It was in such bad shape. I thought it was going to die. So I didn't do anything to it. I didn't prune it. I just fertilized it early on and just let it grow. And it's looking so much better now. So they're a little bit finicky.
But you've had your Oriental bush cherry for a long time, Renee. So, because mine I just dug up from the ground and they're just growing like gangbusters.
Yeah,
But
actually, those grow pretty well. They're not finicky. They're not finicky like this guy.
It doesn't seem like it.
Yeah.
Do you have one, Vince?
I have one that I got from Renee.
Oh, me too.
Well, I have another set of cuttings that I did last year, so I'll have some more to give away here soon. So, anybody else have anything they would like to share? I was just going to quickly go through some fertilizing. Normally, if you listen to the bonsai professionals, they recommend that you do not fertilize deciduous trees at this time of year. You let them grow and then start fertilizing in May when the new foliage has hardened off. That helps keep the inner nodes short and the leaves smaller. If you fertilize now, it's like they're on steroids right now growing, and you're just going to add to that. So you hold back on the fertilizer now and then fertilize in May, June. I'm going to share screen. I just have a couple, I'm not sure. Let's see. Fertilizers. I was just going to go through some of the different kinds of fertilizers. Of course, everybody knows Miracle Grow, and that's like really strong nitrogen. It's got a lot of nitrogen in it. It's like giving a plant a shot of steroids. If you look at let's see, I'm going to annotate here. Annotate. If you look at this section, I don't know if everybody is familiar. Whoops, I need a better.
A different color.
I need a different color. Let's do, how about dark blue? Let's see what that does, and a fatter line. This section kind of gives you the breakdown of what the fertilizer has in it. If you look at this, the total nitrogen is 24%, really high nitrogen content, and it's all water soluble. You have 3.5% ammoniacal nitrogen and 20.5 urea. That means it's all water soluble. So when you put this on a tree, it's right there for it to use immediately. It's only 8% phosphate and 16% potash, which is potassium. Miracle-Gro also has some of the micronutrients in it, boron, copper, iron, some of the micronutrients that a lot of the trees need. But this is like the strongest stuff you can possibly use, or one of the strongest you can use. Whoops, I have to clear. That's right, and get rid of that before I can go on. Next type of fertilizer is like Osmocote. This is also relatively high nitrogen, but it is contained in in an osmotic membrane. The little beads that you see with Osmocote are in an osmotic membrane, so it releases slowly. You don't get it delivered all at once to the plant, but it's still pretty high nitrogen. You can see here it is 15% nitrogen, 9% potash, which is potassium, or phosphorus, excuse me, and 12% potassium with some of the micronutrients. This is a little bit better. I mean, a slow release. If you put this on, I use this primarily for my conifers because they seem to take a little bit more fertilizer than the deciduous trees. So I usually put this on my conifers like now, I actually put it on right at the first part of March. You could use this on your deciduous trees, but they're going to give you a little bit stronger growth if you use this. Then we get into some of the more organic, which are a little bit lower in nitrogen. And nitrogen is the part of the fertilizer that produces the larger leaves, the longer internodes. It's what really gives it the growth push. The phosphorus and potassium are more for the roots. So anything that's really high nitrogen is going to give you a lot bigger push on the leaves and the internodes. So this one is, let's see. We have 12% nitrogen on this one. And this one is, it says 3.5% slowly available water soluble, which means that it doesn't actually just go right into the soil in the tree right immediately. It takes a while for it to release. It's also 8.5% water insoluble nitrogen, which means that the nitrogen sources in here have to be broken down by the microorganisms in the soil before it can be used by the tree. So this will give you a little bit more sustained, lower dose nitrogen to your tree. This is preferred by, if you have highly ramified trees, you want to keep the internodes short. You don't want to use really high nitrogen fertilizers. Once you get your tree ramified, you don't want to ruin it by giving it a huge dose of nitrogen. So this is another type. Grow Power comes in pellet form. You can get it on the internet. It's a pretty good fertilizer. It comes in pellets and then it slowly dissolves when you put them on the surface. And then we go to something that's, strictly organic. It is, this is what I use on my deciduous trees because it's only 5% nitrogen, but it has very little water soluble nitrogen. It has like 2% water soluble and then 3% water insoluble, which means that, the elements in there that are going to give you the nitrogen need to be broken down by the microorganisms in the soil. So it's better, this will help keep your inner node short, your leaves small, but it will give it the amount of nitrogen that, the tree needs. It also has, the micronutrients, oops. And then it also has the microorganisms that are necessary in the soil to help break down the fertilizer and actually deliver the right things, the right nutrients to the tree. So these are just a few different types of fertilizers. Just keep in mind the goal that you have for your trees when you're going to use this stuff. You just don't want to blow out something that you've worked years to get nice ramification and then throw a bunch of osmocote or something on there and blow out the inner nodes and stuff like that. So just a little information to be aware of when you're thinking about fertilizers.
Can I just ask you, what was the last one you mentioned? What was the name of it? The organic one?
It's called Plant Tone. It's Espoma is the manufacturer, and I use the Plant Tone. It's got 5% nitrogen, 3% phosphorus, and 3% potassium. Stop share. Okay. The other thing is watering, just to mention watering. Right now with the deciduous trees, they are growing very rapidly. They're using a lot of water. So be sure and, be aware of not letting them dry out. They use a lot more water now actually than they do in summer. In the summertime, they kind of, after the leaves harden off, they kind of go into a little bit of a summer dormancy. They don't use as much water. Right now, they need lots of water. So just make sure you don't let them dry out. The other thing I was going to mention is if you happen to have wired any of your deciduous trees earlier this year, I know I usually prune and wire in November, December in the winter. If you've put wire on your trees, be sure and check those because they're growing so fast now. You got to watch that wire and make sure it doesn't cut in. So I have, many of my deciduous trees, they don't have a lot of wire on them. A few of the branches will be wired. So you just kind of have to be aware of what you've wired and make sure you watch them closely so the wire doesn't cut in. Guess, that's pretty much all I have to say for today. Anybody have anything else they would like to say? Hello, goodbye.
Thank you. That was a very informative session you girls prepared. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, Lucy. Nice to have you.
Yes, nice seeing everybody.
Nice seeing everybody.
Renee, I have a question.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
Did you say you don't want to fertilize right now if you've got the maples?
Right.
Okay.
You don't fertilize now, because they're growing so aggressively. If you put fertilizer on them now, it's just going to add to that incredible growth push that they're doing and just cause them to have longer inner nodes and bigger leaves. So it's, I think that's one area where a lot of the bonsai professionals agree is that you don't fertilize now. You wait until the leaves harden off in May before you fertilize.
Okay, thank you.
Nice.
Mention our little sheet that's in the ABAS site.
Oh yeah, we have our yearly care spreadsheet.
Oh, yeah, and you want to share anything on our website?
I could share. Yes, I could.
Just to show them a second.
Okay, I can do that. Share this. I'm going to get rid of this. Whoops. Whoops.
Or Dodie could do it.
You want to do it? You want to do it, Dodie?
I can. Are you gonna talk and I'll share it? Is that what you want?
Sure.
I gotta get it up. You need to stop share,
Yeah, I'm gonna stop share here. Okay, stop
and
share.
then I'll have to get it up.
And then do you have to take yourself off pinned, Renee?
If she's gonna share, I don't.
Okay. Okay.
You want me to go to the members page?
Member resources, and then, yeah, let's go to, well, you could start with the home page and just kind of show the navigation through to get
Okay.
to that.
Is this it? Okay, so we have the home page there.
Actually, that's the member resources
Oh,
page.
you're right. Let's see if there's the home page.
There's the home page, yeah.
Okay,
So home page.
so there, do you want me to go through it or go to members resources? But you see our tabs across here if you want to find out about the club. The events is, if you click on that, you can see the different workshops and activities, like Michael Hagedorn will be next weekend if you want to sign up for our presentations. We're hoping maybe to go live meetings in June. We're hoping. Member resources. We will not, I don't think we want to take, there's a lot. This
There's
is
a lot here,
a
yeah.
lot on here. Renee, where do you want to go?
Let's go to the yearly care for deciduous.
Okay, okay, so this is a chart on the yearly care for broadleaf evergreens and deciduous. And it's done by month and then by species down the left side. And I don't know how to get to.
And if you look at March here, let's see.
Maples. Can I get it bigger? Would it be helpful if I'm bigger?
That's good.
Is that better?
Yeah.
So you can see with maples, March and April is pinch new growth. And then in May and June is defoliate, cut, wire, air layer.
Fertilize.
We don't have that on there, huh?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. It's on the news at the very
Oh,
top.
it is. Yeah, it's all across the top. Duh. So, so that's, you fertilize all the way through November. And
Yep.
then stop. So, different tree species, and azaleas is not on this.
No.
I don't know that we have one on azaleas.
We do not have one on azaleas.
Yeah.
We need Tim to do one for us on azaleas.
That's right.
We got to get him busy. Yep.
And this was adapted by one that I think San Francisco area had.
Yeah.
And then Peter did a presentation on this. Was it January last year?
Yes.
Or the year before?
I think it was last year.
So, yeah, I don't know how to get to go back. I don't know. I don't know how to get back.
You have to, at the top, the very top, you just click this, X out the yearly care.
I see.
Right
Okay.
there. Yeah, right there.
There we go.
Yeah.
And then we had the same thing for conifers. And then this is a fertilizing schedule using Osmocote that Peter T recommends.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, he puts Osmocote on his deciduous and broadleaf too. And, it's like, I don't know.
Yep, he does.
He just does it twice.
Yep.
So,
I guess you just don't put as much on since it's time release. Probably put less on them.
like, well, here it was a half a tablespoon per 12 by 12 inches of soil surface. And like for us, he had told us to increase it this year. So, because what would you else would like to share with them?
With them, I don't know, maybe where the presentation videos are and the handouts.
Okay. So like if you notice in the upper left-hand corner, this is being, this presentation is being videotaped or recorded, I should say. And then they go to, we have a YouTube channel. And if you want to go and watch the videos, then you can go back and see them. We don't videotape everything. Some presenters prefer not to. But thanks to Paul's editing, he helps reduce some of